Discord that I joined, that kind of inspired me. The community that I was in, I was like, I want a community like this. This is awesome. Like having people to like just network with who are like-minded and want to better their lives and want to get into real estate, whatever, want to be entrepreneurs. And then I had my YouTube channel also. And so honestly, people were begging me to coach them anyways. Like from my YouTube, before I started doing it, they were like, can you show me? Can you show me? Can you show me? And so I was doing it for free for a long time. But then I saw quickly that people don't value it if it's for free. They have to pay in order to pay attention. But I got my first student, he was for free. His name was Phil. He's the first person who I helped, who he took it so serious. And he closed the deal within, after me coaching him, I forget, I think it was like 40 days or something. He closed his first wholesale deal after spending like $15,000 on other courses and stuff. He just got with me for free. I guided him. He was like, bro, you know what you're doing. Show me. I was like, here, this is what you do. Stop paying all that other stuff and do this. And he closed the deal within like 45 days.
All right. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Julian Castle Show. Today I got Isaiah Malonson. And you know, most people talk about wholesaling online and have never really built anything real. You know, my guest today, Isaiah, he went from a troubled past and single digits in his bank account to making over $200,000 in his first 12 full months of wholesaling real estate. Now he teaches other people how to get their first deal in 90 days and helps them scale to $10,000 to $20,000 months, even sometimes $50,000 months. So we're going to unpack what he uses, you know, what's his exact pipeline, his lead sources, and what his daily schedule is to go from nothing to get his first big month. And then we're going to dig into how he coaches students and what actually works in 2026. So we're going to find out where beginners lie to themselves. So if you're stuck watching wholesale videos and you haven't closed the deal yet, this is the one you take notes on. So what's up? Isaiah, appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, bro. Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
So let's see. So for someone who's never seen your stuff before, how do you introduce yourself today?
Someone who's never seen myself before, well, it depends on who they are, why they're coming to me, and why I met them. But I have a story, I guess. You know, I'm 29 years old. I turned 30 this September. I'm saying goodbye to my 20s. But I really didn't start my life until I was 24 years old. Pretty much my background is everything before 24. I was in and out of jail, addicted to drugs, degenerate, chasing, you know, validation and attention, no love, looking for love in all the wrong places, a bunch of stuff, away from God. And when I was 24, I was in jail for the last time. I had hit rock bottom, full of shame, you know. At the time, I had a girlfriend who I was with her for like 3 years. And then when I went to jail, she had left me for my like best friend. And so that just made the rock bottom so much worse. So, but if it wasn't for all that, you know, and I've moved on from that and I forgave all them. But if it wasn't for that, you know, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I wouldn't be who I am, you know. Mm-hmm. But when I was 24 in jail, I just made the decision. I was like, I got to change. Like, if I don't change, I'm going to be here forever. Like, you know, and so made that decision. And I was facing 3 years in prison, right? I had to get shipped to an out-of-state prison because I was on probation, felony probation in another state. And when I got arrested in Louisiana, I had violated that probation. So I had to face charges in Louisiana, and then I had to go get shipped to prison to do the 3 years. But by the grace of God, in a nutshell, I was released. The charges in Louisiana got dropped, and then they released me from jail. And Mississippi court called. They said, look, I don't know what happened, why they released you, but, you know, if you even get a parking ticket, you know, you're coming back here. So, yeah, and I made a promise to God and everything that I was just going to become the best version of myself. So shortly after that, I turned 25. I lived at my mom's house for the next 2 years. And around September of 2021, that's when I got into wholesale real estate. I quit my 9-to-5, quit everything. I just went all in on wholesale real estate. But I was still living with my mom, and I was a complete beginner. So, you know, it took me 6 months, 6.5 months to get my first deal. Once I got that deal, it took me another 4 months after that to get my second deal. The first deal was for $7,000. The second deal was for $4,000. Took me another 3 months after that to get another one. I think it was just like $3,000. And then the fourth deal, that took another like 5 months. And that was only $2,500. But I took that, and then I took that little $2,500 that I have, and like I probably had like 5,000 more dollars. Not even that. I'm lying. Like 3,000 other dollars, and I moved out to Houston. That's when I went all in on wholesale real estate, and
Nice.
yeah, that's when I made the $200,000. But the thing is, I didn't make any money for the first 3 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was still figuring it out. When I got my first wholesale deal, it was from Zillow for sale by owner, but I think two of the deals was from like pulling lists and like calling them with my phone. So, or like maybe, yeah, one or two of the deals. But once I went to Houston, that's when I figured out the power of Zillow for sale by owner. Um, Took me 3 months. I closed one deal, $5,000, and that was in December of 2023. And then the next 2 months after that, I started making $20,000 a month, every single month from Zillow for sale by owner. And then around April, I made $100,000, and that was from text blasting. Once I made that, I still had my pipeline full. I moved out to Dallas, kept running it up, didn't stop, and then I closed another $100,000 deal. And soon after that, I came out here to Scottsdale, Arizona, just to become a better leader, better man, and coach more people. Yeah,
That's
that's how I
amazing.
introduced myself.
Wow, wow, wow. That's incredible. So how did wholesaling get in your radar though? Like, what were you doing for work at that time? Like,
So how I found out about wholesale real estate is kind of funny. At the time, I was like, so when I got straight out of jail, I immediately got a job because I was just focused on like, I have to do something. I can't be a criminal anymore, and I have to find out how to make money legally. In the past, I didn't understand how people could make so much money legally. It
mm-hmm.
just didn't make sense to me. It didn't compute to my brain.
Yeah.
But I said I dedicated myself to figuring it out. So I immediately got a job. I had two jobs. I had one job, it was a moving company. And then the second job was cutting grass. I had cut grass for like my whole life, like weed eating and stuff, working, for other people. So I had those two jobs. And I was still trying to be a rapper at the time too.
Nice.
But yeah, around end of August, beginning of September, I just got tired of it. I tried drop shipping, right? Actually tried drop shipping before I went to jail. I kept doing it like after to try something, but it takes money to make money in drop shipping, like a lot of money, not too much, but more than I had. But so I just couldn't do it. Well, anyways, this 19-year-old from Instagram, his name was Tyler. 19-year-old kid, he kind of like showed that he was kind of living a lifestyle or whatever. He said, I can make money, blah, 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 for free. I was like, okay, well, look, I'm just trying to find a way to make money. So he kind of gave me the rundown. It was $350 to join his Discord. And I was like, just give me the rundown. He gave me kind of the rundown. He was like, find this house, you get it for this much, sell it for that much. I was like, okay, all right, I guess that seems all right. Anyways, I quit my 9 to 5s, by the way, because they were disrespectful. It was too hot. It was too much. And I just said, I got to figure something out. Gave myself a year to figure something out. But I paid him the $350. And like the first time I made a cold call, right? He showed me the little business model, but the first time I made a cold call, it clicked. Something clicked in my brain, and I was like, this is what I want to do. It's not that it was wholesale real estate. It was sales.
Yeah.
I was like, this is what I want to do. And I remember that lady, the first person I called, it was actually the first contract I ever got. That contract drug out for like 2-3 months, but it didn't close. But still, I remember that. But the first call, the first time I got somebody on the phone, I was like, this is what I want to do. But that Tyler guy, he actually ended up scamming me, right? He actually wasn't a very good coach at all. He actually blocked me, kicked me out of the Discord, just, I don't know, a scammer. But I'm so grateful for him, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have known about wholesale real estate.
Yeah.
All I had to do was get turned on to it, and it was a done deal from there.
That's amazing. So the first deal that you did, how'd you find the lead?
The first deal I did was from Zillow for sale by owner. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about how that conversation went? Like,
So the first, so I seen it. It was in my hometown. So I'm from Slidell, Louisiana. It's a little town about 30 minutes out from New Orleans,
yeah,
Louisiana. And when you're finding deals, I didn't know if I should do my backyard market or out of state virtual. I was kind of hesitant to do virtual because I guess I didn't have the confidence.
mm,
But it's like I knew houses around here and I was going on appointments. So I was driving to houses, meeting people, looking at their house in person, and then like negotiating with them like that. But I saw this one house and it was literally like down the street, like a 5 minute walk from where I grew up, like my house. And I looked at it, I looked at the price, and I was like, hold on, that's a deal, right? Because I just knew that neighborhood.
yeah.
I was like, hold on, that's a deal. Hold on.
Uh-huh.
Called them. They never answered, ever. I was blowing up their phone every single day, never answered the phone. But I was like, I know this is a deal. And I think it was like 3, 4, 5 days of them not answering the phone. I was texting them too. I think they sent one text back, but it was like, I think it was like gibberish or something. Not really important, but they never texted back after that.
Hmm.
And so I lived in Baton Rouge at the time. So that's about an hour drive from my hometown. But my mom, who I was living with, she still worked in Slidell, my hometown. So one day I was like, I went to work with my mom, right? I was like, Mom, after work, like I'll help you with work. I'll be your little assistant, whatever you want me to do. But like after that, can you drive me to this house, please? It was actually that house and like 3 other houses or 2 other houses.
Yeah,
Anyways, so I went to work with her. 5 p.m., 6 p.m. came around. She brought me to the house. And keep in mind, bro, I already look young. I think, especially if I shave, right? I didn't have a beard then.
right.
But so I'm like this little kid looking dude. I have skinny jeans on, Vans, so I look like a little skater. Like,
I can
and
just imagine.
bro, and I don't have a car. My mom is dropping me off. It's like 6 p.m. at night. They didn't know I was coming, but I didn't care. I went
Yeah,
up to the house. I knocked on the door. Some old man answered the door. And he was like, "Yeah, how can I help you?" I was like, "Hey, yeah, I seen the house on Zillow. I was interested in buying it. Can I take a look?" He was like, You want to buy the house?" He looked outside, saw the car. My mom had a Beamer, SUV Beamer, so that I think that
oh,
worked.
okay. All right.
I think that worked. But he was like, "All right, yeah, for sure." So this dude's skepticism was like on 10. Like he did not trust me. He kept questioning me, like, "Sure, you got the money?" But keep in mind, I had been doing this for like 5.5, 6 months by the time I got to him. I had
Right.
like 9 other contracts fall through. I talked to hundreds of people already, watched all the Jerry Norton videos. I learned everything. So even though he was questioning me and his skepticism was high, I knew how to talk. I knew the language of real estate and I knew how to sound like I know what I'm talking about because I didn't know what I was talking about to a degree.
Yeah.
So every time I was hitting him with all of it. Every time I would watch a Jerry Norton video, I would write down what he was saying, practice it. So I think the fact that I knew what I was talking about and I sounded confident, it didn't bother me. Like I could tell he was looking at me like, you have the money, you have $140,000. I was like, yeah, for sure. I'm gonna have one of my hard money lenders come over here. If it looks good, I mean, it looks good so far. I'm gonna have one of my GCs come out. That's a general contractor. By the way, is this an addition to the house or what? I was like saying all that. He was like, oh, okay. I guess he does know what he's talking about.
Right, right.
So, boom, and look, after I did the little walkthrough, and I took plenty of pictures too, because there was like no pictures on Zillow. I took plenty of pictures. So the number that was on Zillow that wasn't answering, it was his wife's phone, and she just never answers it. So I got the husband's phone number, right? I had to make sure I leave with that precious intel. I got his phone number, texted him, made sure it was actually his phone number, bro. And I was like, all right, cool. You guys don't answer the phone ever again. Like the wife, never pick up the phone again. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Only talk to me. So I was in there. So that's how I like found and got in contact with him.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. What was the assignment check for that one?
That was for $7,000.
$7,000. That's amazing. So tell me, like, what were your biggest fake beliefs, like false beliefs that you had about wholesaling at the beginning that turned out to be completely wrong?
About wholesaling,
Yeah.
I think by the time I got into wholesaling, I had abandoned my limiting mindset. Um,
Mhm.
I think my mind was already turned on at that point to believe in myself and believe that anything is possible. There was so much growth and work that I put into myself before I even got to wholesale and before I even got to that man's door. So by the time I got there, there was nothing was impossible. Nothing is impossible still to this day. I could do anything I set my mind to. So I don't mean to shut down your question, but like
No,
that's the
no,
truth.
that's awesome. Hell yeah. And so, what changed from when you were doing this, every couple of months, getting a deal to when you moved to Houston, right? What changed that changed you that you started doing this consistently?
Um, so after I got my first wholesale deal, I was actually cutting grass for myself, right? That's like the one tangible skill that I had, real life, real world skill. So I started a little my own grass cupping lawn care business on the side as well as wholesale real estate.
Mm.
So I saved up a couple $1,000s by the grace of God, and I got my first truck and started, you know, doing the grass cutting more. Before I would push a push lawnmower and a weed eater around town. Like I had no car, but once I got a car, so I say all that to say like I got a little distracted from wholesale. That's why it took me another 4 months to get another deal, and then I got a little complacent too. Like I had the money, I had a car, I was in better shape, I wasn't as ugly as before,
Mm.
and so a little big headed. Um, but when I went to Houston, so it I was tired of like only getting a deal every 4 months, every 3 months, every 5 months. I got tired of it. And by the time, I got that fourth deal, and that fourth deal is a crazy story. We don't have to get into it here, but like they could check it out on my YouTube channel. That was a crazy story getting that fourth one. But by the time all that happened, I could feel myself, I was hanging out back in my hometown like almost every day, and I could feel myself slipping back into like old patterns and old habits. And I was like, I got to get out. I have to get out of Louisiana. I have to get out of my hometown. I got to do something. I got to chase my dreams. I got to go all in.
Mm.
And so it was kind of like out of desperation and for a higher calling. And so when I went to Houston, I rented out this room in this house. It was like 7 rooms in the house. My room was just like a little addition to the house. And I said, I'm not going to leave this room. I'm not going to leave this house until I make $100,000. Well, maybe that could be one of the limiting beliefs. I could have put $1 million on it, and I think I would have made $1 million if I set my mind to that. But I was stuck, and I was hung up on $100,000 because I never had $100,000 before, ever.
Yeah.
So, but that's what I set my mind to, and so I was just way more dedicated. So I barely had any money for food. I paid my rent like 5 months in advance. It was like $900 a month, and I had to make the money or else I was on the street, because getting a 9 to 5 again was not an option. It wasn't in my realm of possibilities. It was either
Right.
I do it or I die. And I didn't plan on dying, so I did it. So, yeah, I had 5 months to make it happen. And like I said, by the third month, like the end of the third month, is really when I made my first $5,000 check. So that kept me afloat for a little bit.
Yeah.
But then like the next January, February, March, like I made 20 grand back to back to back, 20, 22, 23, 21. The biggest difference was that I was actually living out my vision for myself. I wanted for so long, like I said, when I made that commitment when I was in jail and I decided to become the best version of myself and always become better, that was the vision. Like from that was like a huge milestone in my life. And when I was in Slidell, I was leveling up, but then I was slowly creeping back down.
Hmm.
So I was like, no, this ain't enough. Like
Yeah.
when I was there, I started waking up at 3 in the morning again, working out every day, made my bed. I would read, brainwash myself with some motivational videos. I would watch Eric Thomas every single day, which is crazy because the first time I made my first 5-figure check when I was in Houston, it was $14,000. I went to the mall to go get me a new laptop, the laptop that I'm using now. And that's when I met Eric Thomas in person. Just randomly ran into him. If you guys don't know who that is, that's a motivational speaker. If you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, that's when you'll be successful. For those who don't know.
Wow.
But so, yeah, the biggest difference was that I was committed and I was dedicated and I was alone. Nobody was around me. I didn't know anybody. I was in a new city, new state, super uncomfortable, but I was super wired to like make it happen. And the funny thing is, even though it was the hardest I've ever worked, well, yeah, it was damn near the hardest I've ever worked on myself and went to war with myself. It was so fulfilling knowing that I was actually doing the things that I said I would do. You know, I blocked everybody from my past. I got a new number. Nobody had my number except for my mom. So like my brothers, my sisters, my friends, even the good friends, like the new friends that I made when I leveled up, they didn't have my number, but they knew what I was on. I deleted Instagram, didn't have Instagram, but they understood. They knew that I was on a mission and I was going to prove myself right. So that was the biggest difference. I was 120% locked in for sure.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. Okay. So you definitely talked a lot on how you structure your day and how you did things, and it was just the commitment that you did. So so what does it look like when you start doing $20,000 a month, from for Zillow for sale by owner? Like, do you have this the routine, or like what can you share with us that like enabled you or made you get that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. So when I first went out there to Houston, it was all wholesale. I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out. So the first thing I had was a dialer. I had
Mm-hmm.
batch dialer,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had lists. Um, I would pull those lists off a prop stream or something. I would skip trace them, and I would just call those lists. So at first, I was just sitting on a dialer all day, every day, asking people if they want to sell their house. I kept doing that, and I was talking to a lot of people, but I was cold calling. Like you had to talk to like 1,000 people just to get somebody who said, "Yeah, maybe I'll sell my house," you
Mm-hmm.
know. And I was tracking everything. So I had a goal of what I was going to do for the month. Broke reverse engineered that to every week and then to every day. I forget what it was. I think it was like 500 conversations a day or something, or 500 connects a day from the dialer, something like that. And then like a certain amount of offers. I can't remember, but the number was high.
Yeah.
And so after the first 30 days, I didn't make any money. And I maybe had one or two contracts, but they weren't that good. And so every 30 days, I would iterate, what I was doing, right? That was the plan. Plan, execute, iterate. So I'd make a plan for 30 days, execute the plan, the 30 days, and then iterate whatever needed to be changed, whatever the results were.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the first 30 days, I was like, nothing. But okay, we'll keep
Yeah.
going. I stuck to the plan. Uh, and so I did it for another 30 days. It was really nothing. Um, but somewhere in there, it kind of dawned on me. I was like, hey, I got my first like 2, 3 deals from Zillow for sale by owner. Why don't I mix that in a little bit? So I had the KPIs for the dialers, like what I'm supposed to do on the dialer, but then I added another KPI in there, something like have like 1 or 2 Zillow conversations, make those
Right.
offers. And then also in the middle of the second 30 days, like so in the middle of 60 days, uh, I ran out of money, bro. I barely had any money for food,
Yeah.
so I was like, I can't do this. So, but then also I looked at the results and I saw that I had maybe three contracts max from the dialer, and I ended up getting like 5 contracts from Zillow. And I was like, I had to like look at it and had to really honestly ask myself, like, it looks like Zillow's working. So
Right.
let me just do that. And it was a big hit to my ego because my KPIs for the dialer were like a lot of conversations, a lot of things, a lot of blah blah blah, blah, huge numbers. But I was like, you know what? I have to take a hit to the ego, lower the numbers, and
Mm-hmm.
up the quality.
Yeah.
So It went from like 100 or 200 conversations or something to just 20 conversations, 20 conversations a day. But I was like, these conversations are going to be so high quality. I'm going to make sure that they're good.
Yeah.
And also by that time, I found out who Eric Klein was. He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't too big at that time, but I was huge in the wholesale. Like I was so dialed into the wholesale space. And, his biggest thing was like stay on the phone with him for 30 minutes, 30-minute offer. And also, uh, yeah, by that time, I was listening to Eric Klein on a bunch of podcasts. He was selling a script for like $1,000. I didn't have $1,000 to spend on a freaking script. So I would
Wow.
just watch the videos over and over and over again. And I would just write down what he's saying.
Yeah.
And I would just try to formulate my own script based off of that and based off of other things that I kind of knew. And so I made my own script for Zillow. And um, I just started having 20 conversations a day from Zillow. And then, Jerry Norton was always like, do 3 offers a day. And Eric Klein was saying 3 offers a day. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have 20 conversations and 3 offers every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the reason that it pops off, like that's how momentum is built. Like I didn't just start off doing that. I started off doing a bunch of other things, worked my ass off. It was super hard. And so from doing all that, by the time I got to do the 20 conversations and 3 offers, I was a savage on the phone.
Yeah.
And so once I did that, bro, yeah, it was like I was trying to get like 5 contracts a month minimum. And yeah, that's how it was. So 20 conversations, 3 offers a day. I'll even send you like a screenshot of the KPIs I tracked. So what I would do is I didn't have a real CRM for real. I used Podio. So
Mm-hmm.
Podio did help me a lot, but I just hated it. I don't know why. I just hated the layout. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
That's just me. But I had a whiteboard to keep track of my KPIs. So I had a KPIs for conversations. I had a KPI for how many offers I made. And then once I closed my first deal, or actually after my first student, so because I was still on YouTube documenting all
Mm-hmm.
of this for the past 2 years.
So everything you did on YouTube. Yeah, it's on YouTube. You have videos.
Yeah, from the very first deal that I closed, like the
Wow.
second that I had that $7,000 in my hand, I pulled it out all cash. It's like the main video on my YouTube channel. I just made videos from there, so all of this is documented. All of
That's
it. The
that's
first
pretty
day I
cool.
moved out to Houston, all of it.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Wow. Okay. So that's incredible, man. So you dialed your KPIs in. You went in all in on Zillow, and then you were making $20,000 months consistently on Zillow, right?
Yeah, that started January 2024 is when I made my first $20,000. It was really all from Zillow. Yeah.
Was that separate deals? Like how many deals were you doing a month on around that
Yeah,
time?
that was like 4 or 5 deals, so they weren't that big, but I was
Hmm.
getting them.
Yeah. No, they add up.
Sometimes, but like I said, one of them was $14,000. Another one was like 7,500 from Zillow. I had a $12,000 deal from Zillow. So they had a couple 5-figure deals from Zillow, but like a lot of them were like 5,000, 6,000, 4,000. If it was 2,500, I'd take it. Like I'd take
Of
anything. Give me
course,
it.
of course, of course. Yeah, anything. That's awesome. All right. So you made your script. So tell us a little bit about your sales process. Obviously, this was built by you. So like, what were the key things that you wanted to hit on during those conversations, so you had the highest likelihood of closing that deal, of
Yeah.
getting that
So
contract signed?
yeah, the sales process with Zillow. So after doing it so many times and talking to so many people, I realized that, most people say talk to the leads on Zillow that have been up there for like 30 days, 90 days, because those are the most tired and worn down leads they just want to get rid of it. But I found the opposite to be true. So I try to be the first person to talk to them.
Hmm.
Try to be the first person to talk to them and keep them on the phone for 30 minutes. That is the truth that gets me all the deals. Like that's what gets deals locked up. Being the first person to talk to them so they're not as aggravated anymore like as other people would be, because trust me, after I call them, there's going to be 50 more calls and they're probably going to say the same exact thing, sound the same way, have the same terms, cash as is, fast.
Right.
So I try to be the first, and then I try to make a very memorable impression. and I have to stay on the phone with them for 30 minutes. And then also, what's in that 30 minutes is pretty much Eric Klein's 5-step sales process. So that's the intro, fact find, pitch, offer, and close. So the intro, set expectations for the call, introduce yourself. Fact find, that's when you talk about the motivation, and they have motivation questions in there. And the fact find lasts throughout the whole phone call, right? The fact
Yeah.
finding, discovery phase, some would call it, is going to give you the ammunition to close at the end. And then the pitch, so that's talking about the condition of the house. First, you talk about the outside and the neighborhood, then you talk about the inside and the condition, cosmetically, and then structurally, roof, foundation, AC, and then intro, fact find, pitch, offer. Then you make the offer. There's a little process to making the offer and everything, and you go for the close, negotiating, getting them to sign.
Nice, nice. Do you do the underwriter, or do you have?
So when I was first starting, yeah, every time, that's what I did. It wasn't as saturated back then. Now it's a little saturated, but still, if you have underwriters, you have underwriters. Yeah, I have underwriters. But now I just say my partner, my business partner, Ian, or yeah, I'll use Ian's name, or other people from my team. I'll use their names. Be like, all right, I'm going to pass this off to Danny. Danny's going to be the one to look at it. Yeah, let me talk to Ian. He's actually the manager. He's the head underwriter. So let me talk to him, things like that, instead of just saying my underwriters.
Oh, nice. So you make it more personable. Nice.
Yeah.
And right now your team is do you have a team, or you're solo?
Oh, I have a team for sure. Yeah.
How many people you have on your team?
So I got one dispo, one acquisition manager, one follow-up specialist, and then my executive assistant is coming back. So right now it's me and 3 other people, but I'm about to have my executive assistant start the beginning of March.
Amazing. And with that team right now, what are you generating a month?
So on average, right now we're just doing Zillow still, so it's $20,000 a month. A lot of months are more than that, but on average, if you spread it out, it's really about $25,000 a month. A good month, I only had $200,000 months,
$200,000 months?
Yeah, just $200,000 months. Yeah.
That's
just
pretty big. Just
yeah.
Yeah, that's like what you do in a year in just two.
Yeah. But I'm saying like the minimum baseline is $20,000, $25,000. Other than that, it's like 50,000. So it's like it fluctuates between 50 and 20. So 20, 50, 20, 50. And then there's like $170,000 month, and then the $200,000 months.
Okay, let's talk about the $200,000 months. How'd you get those?
So when I was in Houston, and when I had my first $20,000, like my first full $20,000, I spent $5,000 on a mentor, right? I was like, I have to learn how to start paying for marketing because I want to get to $100,000. I didn't make $100,000 yet.
Right.
So I met this one guy. His name is Vince Chimoga. I interviewed him a lot of times on my YouTube channel. He's like one of my very good friends now. I could call him up whenever. Literally, he's my best friend for real. And but I met him just from wholesaling, networking. I had a deal. His dispo reached out to me, try to sell the deal, and I just saw his boss Vince in the email chain with a title company. I called him up. I was like, "What are you doing? How do you do it? How much are you making?" Da da da. And yeah, I was like, "Can you show me how to do it?" He was like, "Yeah, I could do it. $5,000." I was like, "All right." Paid him it cash, all at once, and then he showed me how to do text blasting. So did the text blasting, and I didn't make any money at first from text blasting. I was getting leads, and I had to do it all by myself, but it was way easier than cold calling. It was way more efficient than cold calling, right? Because I had just one dialer, and it was just me. Even if it was a triple line dialer or a 5-line dialer, still it took forever to get somebody on the phone, and then I could only talk to one person on the phone at a time. So when I was text blasting, it was sending out like 2,500 texts a day. And I just had to sit back and let it happen.
Wow.
And but none of the deals went through except for the very last one. I was losing hope in it, but the The one deal, the only deal, and the last deal that I got under contract was for $100,000. So it was from text blasting.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, congrats on that. Okay.
Appreciate that.
So,
Yeah.
cool. Well, let's talk about a little bit about the wholesaling operating system. Obviously with the team now, you're a little bit more dialed in, right? And so even before you had the KPIs, as well. So, can you map out like what your pipeline looks like from like a stranger to like a closed deal to someone that's listening, so that they understand what the stages are and the conversion, like what should happen throughout each stage at each step?
Yeah, for sure. Um, so the pipeline, the acquisition pipeline, I mean, so we call the leads from Zillow, go through the sales process. We import them. As soon as somebody answers the phone and they're just talking to us and they don't hang up the phone within 10 seconds, we're importing them into the CRM. Go through the sales process. If it seems promising, then we put it in our pipeline. So the acquisition pipeline is cold follow up, warm follow up, hot follow up. I think like pending contract. And then after that, after they sign, it goes to the disposition pipeline. So that's signed under contract, pending welcome call. And then so the disposition, they'll give them a welcome call, be like, hey, how you doing? I'm the main transaction coordinator here. I'm being in charge of making sure everything goes smooth and coordinating things like pictures, walkthroughs, and things like that. Giving them the welcome call, fill out the dispo template, right? So there's a little template that we fill out with all the basic information that the buyers want to see about the deal. Fill
Okay.
that out. That's done. Then we text blast it out to our buyers, and then post it on Facebook. And then the next phase is we post it on investor base. Yeah, post it on investor base. And then so after the marketing side is done, well, the platform marketing like Facebook, text blasting, investor base, then it goes to the next phase of calling all the investor base buyers. So on investor base, you could pull a list of buyers. We'll cold call those, while we're still responding to the people who responded to the text blasting. After that, if it's an ovation, then there's another little stage in the pipeline called calling realtors. If we don't already have a realtor for it, typically if we get a deal and it's in our market, like we already have a realtor that we just shoot it to, they put it on the MLS. Then after that, it's active MLS listing. Then after that, it's buyer signed, then EMD deposited, then deal closed.
Nice, nice. Okay. So how are you doing the novations if they're for sale by owner? You just take them from for sale by owner and you list them on the market?
So when we're doing Zillow for sale by owner, it just depends. If they owe too much or whatever the case is, maybe it's too high for an investor, or I just know it's a novation. Either way, we get them to take it down off Zillow. We get them to take it off Zillow.
Yeah.
We get it under contract, get them to take it off Zillow, and then shoot it to our investors. Or if we just already know it's a novation, we just shoot it to the realtor, and then they list it on the MLS, and then it's back on Zillow, but with us.
You guys are gangster. That's so funny. Okay, cool. All right, great.
It worked.
Yeah, no,
Definitely worked.
that's awesome. So, alrighty, that's pretty cool. And then your main markets you're focusing on are what?
The main markets are Texas, Georgia, North Carolina. Like those are the main, and then they have Florida and Tennessee.
Okay, Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee.
Main one is Texas. Main one is Texas. Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. And so, how is there anything that you do to like be the first one to call a Zillow for sale by owner lead, or is it just you look every day?
That's it. That's all you got to do. Look every day.
Nice.
Well, there's a filter on there too. There's a filter on there that says days on Zillow, and you just change that to within the last day. So it's only going to show the ones that have been posted within the last 24 hours. Nowadays, I'm seeing that there's so much competition. But again, the competition are amateurs. They don't know what they're doing. They're not me.
Mm.
But I say that to say a lot of people are calling them within like the first like 5 hours. 5 hours. If it has like 100 views, 200 views already, they already got their phone blown up. You still have a chance, but like I'm seeing that now you have to be like within the first 10 minutes, period.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, it sounds like you got to be checking, you know, quite quite a bit every time.
Check periodically, yeah, every hour. If you're doing this just from Zillow for sale by owner, check periodically every hour. We have a lot of leads in our CRM. So we're getting a lot of follow up leads that are turning into contracts now. Maybe they weren't able to sell before, or they were locked up with somebody else and it fell through. So going through our CRM, going through the lists that we have in the CRM and just following up with them, that's how we're getting a lot of contracts. The fortune is in the follow up.
Nice, nice. Cool. Do you have any like text blasts you do to your follow-ups, or is it just you dial them and then you just hit them and then talk to them again?
Yeah, we have some drip campaigns that we send out. Whether that's to wholesalers in our CRM, asking them if they have a deal, or whether it's a cold follow up drip campaign. So like cold leads, send them a drip campaign. Yeah, we got all the drip campaigns. Yeah, text
Nice.
blast.
What are some texts you can give people that are like good ones they can shoot out to, like maybe a list of leads that they have, to have people raise their hands to see if they're still interested in selling so they can get
Like new
back
leads or old leads?
old leads.
Old leads, be like something like, hey, you know, seller name, it's Isaiah, or person's name. Just wanted to follow up with you about the property on 123 Main Street and seeing if you still had plans to sell. It could be as simple as that, like literally.
Nice, yeah.
Or sometimes you could be a little more personable, but those you would have to like type out. But as far as a drip campaign, a text template, something like that is simple enough. And then you just follow up with like, maybe like 10 other texts after that for the people who don't respond, right? So you send the first blast out of texts, it'll get a certain amount of people to raise their hand, but then there'll be the other people who didn't respond. So for those people, it's a drip sequence, a drip campaign. So they keep getting the text. So it'll be like, hey, seller name, Isaiah again, sorry to bug you. I know you said that you were trying to sell 123 Main Street. I was just reaching out to see if you still had plans to sell it. I'm still interested, or something like that, and
Nice.
then like 10 other texts, basically different variations of that.
Nice. Keep it simple. Okay. So so what does your KPIs look like right now for your daily acquisition, you know? Uh
It's 3 hours of talk time, three script offers, three 30-minute script offers. So we don't count it as an offer if it's not 30 minutes.
mm,
Some people don't agree with that. Some people will count an offer if it's 20 minutes, but keeping it 30 minutes, that's just what I've known from my experience to give you the highest likelihood to close them.
yeah.
So three 30-minute script offers. If it's a follow-up offer, so if it's a lead that we have in the CRM already, it could be 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You're not going through the entire whole discovery phase again. You know what's up, just build rapport with them for 20 minutes. So three 30-minute script offers, 70 dials minimum, um, 3 hours of talk time. That's it. And try to get it, 1 to 2 opportunities a day. And an opportunity is basically just somebody that you put into your pipeline.
Got it. So like a new lead basically.
No, not a new lead, just an opportunity. So say it's an old lead,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And they weren't ready to sell before. Now they are, and the price looks good. Well, that's an opportunity. I'm going to put it in my pipeline.
Gotcha, gotcha. So they go from like follow up to like you guys are making an offer or setting an appointment or something.
Hmm.
Gotcha. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. Great. So okay, so you talked a little bit about your dispositions, process, because obviously you can get a contract, but if you can't sell them, you would still go broke. Um, so for the leads that you have, in your dispo system, you text blast. How do you get those buyers in there? Like, how do you essentially build your buyers list?
I mean, there's a plethora of ways, but one of the ways, like I said, is investor base. You
Mm,
could cold call new buyers. At the end of the day, it's still cold calling, so it's going to take a lot of dials.
mm,
But how I started out getting buyers is from Facebook groups, Facebook Marketplace. Post your deal on there, they'll respond, and then networking. So you connect with other wholesalers. As long as you have deals, you have value to bring to the table, you have contracts, you shopping it out. You're like, okay, I'm showing my buyer, And if they do get their buyer to sign, a lot of times I'm pushing to know their buyer's information. Like, who is this buyer? Yeah,
right.
I'll be put in some situation. Typically, people are like, protective of their buyers, especially if they're like a experienced wholesaler.
Yeah.
Like they know how to protect themselves. But I'm not saying that it's, I'm stealing something, but
Hey,
but
yeah.
but if you form a relationship with people long enough, you'll network and you'll get to know the people that they know. That's how I met my mentor. That's how I met a lot of the buyers. A lot of the buyers that I know, like a lot of them are my friends, and I wouldn't have known them if it wasn't for connecting with the people that I knew before them, who knew them before me. And so a lot of times they'll introduce you. They'll be like, "Hey, this is my guy, Rick," or whatever. He's a really good guy. He's a buyer, da da da, and you get to know Rick, and then Rick knows like three other buyers. He's like, you know what, this ain't a deal for me, but I can shoot it to these guys. I'll give you their information as well. A lot of it is just networking.
Gotcha. That's super cool. So now tell me, what are the red flags on a deal that tell you like we priced this wrong? This is going to be hard to dispo, so that you don't spend a week, or you guys don't waste a week, just trying to dispo something that's not going to move.
The buyers tell us it's not a deal.
Okay.
That's it. Look, the motto over here is "fuck it, lock it up." Look, a lot of people don't agree with that, but I'm gonna be honest. Especially when we're in new markets that we've never been in before, like we'll look at the comps, and I guess the rule of thumb is like if it's a maybe, like it seems like something's there. Like, yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, this is like one bad comp, but that's just one bad comp. They got four other comps over here that show like, hey, this is a high ARV. He said it doesn't need too much work, but we don't know any buyers. Like, that's a maybe. Lock it up. We'll take the opportunity. Just set the clear expectations with the seller. Set clear expectations with the seller. Be like, hey, we'll do this price. Again, like if they're not budging and it's just still like, I don't know, we'll do it, but contingent upon, we go to the house and nothing crazy is going on with the house and it doesn't need more work than you say it needs and everything in the pictures is accurate. We'll move forward at this price. We'll send somebody out there within a week or two to check it out. And yeah, so it's just set clear expectations with the seller. And then you blast it out, or you call the buyers, and your buyers will tell you what they think. And then with that information that the buyers gave you, you go back to the seller and you'd be like, A, B, and C, this is what it is. This is why.
Gotcha.
You go for the price, drop, or you go for the cancel.
Gotcha. Now, let me ask you, how do you build rapport with the buyer so that they're able to divulge their highest and best number so that they can actually work with you, and get a deal done?
Yeah, that's a great question, because building rapport with the seller and building rapport with a buyer are two completely different things. So if you have a buyer on the phone and he's like a real buyer, he's buying a lot of deals and he's spending a lot of money, he's going to try to it's hard to keep them on the phone. It's so much harder to keep them on the phone versus a seller. A seller who, they haven't got their phone blown up yet, you can they'll talk to you. They'll have a conversation. They'll talk about their life. You'll share a few laughs with them. A buyer, you get them on the phone. Hey, I got this deal. They're like, all right, send me the details. I'll talk to you later. Send me the details. I'll check it out. And so for a buyer, you just have to know how to pique their interest immediately and get them interested. Once they're interested, like once they're, whatever spidey senses are tingled or tickled or whatever, then they'll take the time to stay with you on the phone. And you could have them look at the deal immediately while you're on the phone with them. So especially when you're cold calling buyers, if they're a buyer, they'll tell you, yeah, I buy in this area. What you got? All right, send me the link. I'll look at it. I'll send you pictures. So I have a script. I could pull it up, but it's basically, if I'm cold calling a buyer, I say, Hey, Julian, sorry to blow your phone up. This is Isaiah. I was just calling to see, are you still buying deals over in Orlando? I just got this deal over there, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,400 square feet. I'm asking like $100,000 for it. I just didn't know if you're still buying deals over there. So that'll immediately pique their interest. I'll be like, oh yeah, all right, send me what you got. So once they say send you, that's a trap. Don't send them it. You'd be like, well, I could just tell you about it right now. I mean, do you even buy in that area though? So like diverting it from like where they want it to go. It's very key to always, whether you're on the phone with a buyer or a seller, always have full control of the conversation. Don't let them direct where the conversation is going to go, because if You let them direct where the conversation is going to go. The buyer's going to hang up on you. The seller's going to hang up on you. The seller's going to tell you, I need to think about it or something like that. So trying to divert it and try to get more information out of them. The interest is peaked. You have to peak the interest with the buyer within like the first 4 to 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And then, you could do that also with saying the ARV. I'm asking 100 grand for it. ARV is about 310. It's over in this neighborhood. Are you familiar with that neighborhood? Like, oh yeah, I do know that neighborhood. What part of the neighborhood? It's by this, da da da. They got like 3 comps over there. And so while I'm doing that, another thing that I do is I do text them the information, but I don't tell them that I texted them it yet. Right. I tell them that like after I spent a little bit of time with them and I know if they're a serious buyer or not. Because if you just text them the information, they'll be like, all right, I'll look at it. I'll call you back. So talk about the deal first and like see like how many deals are you buying, and like do you buy in that area? The price is negotiable. Maybe you could say something like that, whatever. And get to know them a little bit. And then in the middle of the conversation, without them knowing, I already sent the text. So like by the time I'm done talking about whatever, because the text takes for my CRM, it takes like 10 seconds for it to deliver to them. So if I like say, hey, I'm about to send you this text, let me know if you get it. It should get it within 10 seconds or whatever. They'll be like, all right, well, I'll let you know if I get it. I'll call you back if I get it. It's just like, so
You're like, no, click on it.
yeah. So when I'm done with that, I'll be like, did you get that text that I sent you, by the way? Be like, yeah, I got it. Can you click that link? Even if they say, all right, I'll take a look at it, be like, real quick, before I let you go, can you make sure that the link works and click that link? It has the pictures and everything in it. Sometimes it doesn't work. So I just want to make sure that it actually works. If not, I'll have to send it again. But just let me know if you can see the pictures, like real quick, something like that. Right. Of course, I know the link works, but click it,
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Yeah. So it's building rapport is those golden moments with them. Trying to get them to build rapport on the phone. So, you
Yeah.
you coach a little bit, right? And so, what are obviously what do you think are some non-negotiables that you tell your students to do when it comes to interacting with their buyers or sellers?
A non-negotiable when interacting with them.
Yeah.
Just the standards that I keep for myself. So 30 minutes, read the script, set expectations in the beginning of the call during the intro, give an offer. That's it. Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's with the seller.
That's with the seller, yeah. And then with the buyer, we just went over some of those details.
Yeah.
How do you do your process for dispo? Like, let's say you have that person that you just talked to him on the phone. He just clicked the link. He kind of saw it. What do you do after the walkthrough? Do you have a script for the post walkthrough? Post walkthrough script. Do you have a script like that, or like what's your process?
Post walkthrough script? No, it's just relentless follow up and just getting a number out of them. Because a lot of times buyers, if the buyers are like, I'm not interested, well, okay, cool. I still want to know like what number would make it a good deal for you.
Right.
I'll pull a number out of them just so I could see, and I'll do that for every buyer that goes to walk through. So pulling a number out of them. There's no script though. It's just like key things that I have to get done, like check boxes. Make sure you get a number out of them. If they get a walkthrough, sometimes I'll get the buyer to take pictures for me if I don't have pictures. But most of the time I'll hire a photographer. Post walkthrough, just getting a number out of them if they don't have a number. But if they do have a number, well, then that's when you got to negotiate. They're going to say this, they're going to say that. And I'm going to be like, well, look at this. That's where you like try to show them why it's a good deal. Show them the comps, other things that you have like that. And either way, whatever number that you get them up to or whatever, now you got to get like 3 other offers, at least 3 offers to every deal. And then wherever the offers are at, you either get a price reduction or you like it up or lock it up.
Nice. Cool. So That's awesome. So let me ask you this: why did you just start teaching? Versus just stacking your own deals. At this point.
So when I got scammed from that guy Tyler and in his Discord, I met some good people in there, and that kind of inspired me. But also, you know, when I was on drugs back then, and I was like a degenerate, and my life was like in shambles or whatever, people came up to me. Like, there's a lot of stories in my life and a lot of miracles in my life that happened, but uh, a lot of pastors, even when I didn't believe in God, like certain people, even like random people off the streets who I'd never even talked to, didn't say a word to them, they'd be like, hey, you have a calling. Like, you're going to speak to a younger generation. You're going to speak to God's people and you're going to lead them, you know? And things like that happened over my life. And and then the Discord that I joined, that kind of inspired me. The community that I was in, I was like, I want a community like this. This is awesome. Like, having people to like just network with who are like-minded and want to better their lives and want to get into real estate, whatever, want to be entrepreneurs. And then I had my YouTube channel also. And so honestly, people were begging me to coach them anyways. Like, from my YouTube, before I started doing it, they were like, can you show me? Can you show me? Can you show me? And so I was doing it for free for a long time. But then I saw quickly that people don't value it if it's for free. They have to pay in order to pay attention. But I got my first student. He was for free. His name was Phil. He's the first person who I helped, who he took it so serious, and he closed the deal after me coaching him. I forget. I think it was like 40 days or something. He closed his first wholesale deal after spending like $15,000 on other courses and stuff. He just got with me for free. I guided him. He was like, bro, you know what you're doing. Show me. I was like, here, this is what you do. Stop paying all that other stuff and do this. And he closed the deal within like 45 days. And yeah, after that, I didn't want to start coaching until I helped at least one person actually close a deal. He closed that deal. I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. So it was December 1st, 2023, when I opened up my own Discord, and I just kind of went from there. I charged $10 for everybody to join. And those first students are super successful now. Like, I remember a lot of them. And one of them is my acquisition manager. He's still with me to this day.
Nice. That's awesome. You still running that Discord? It's still open for people?
It's free. So anybody wants to join, it's free. The community is free. Student chat in there, so you could network with people, put your deals in there. You could DM me on there. I'm in there most days. So I go live on YouTube every day, calling Zillow for sale by owner. So y'all could watch me call the Zillow leads every single day from YouTube. And then sometimes I'll be in the public channel, the voice channel chat in the Discord. And so they'll see me do it live from my computer, and like they'll actually see me on Zillow, see the property I'm looking at, me competent and everything. So yeah, I still have that.
Nice. And so what's the plug? How can people go see it? What's the name of it? Where can they check it out?
It's called Wholesale Mastermind. It's called Wholesaling Mastermind. I could give you a link. I don't really know how for people to join other than clicking a link.
That's cool. That's fine. All right. Sweet, man. So that's pretty good. Now, I know that helping people is important to you, but obviously you've been able to achieve your success with mindset and discipline, and obviously there's some dark parts about it. So like, a lot of your content, I guess it's you put in, it's like you talk about your darkest chapters, and then you show your personality on it. And so for you, what has been the most beneficial thing you've done, in order to get your mindset right, and your discipline to be able to achieve these things which you've, manifested into life?
Jocko Willing has a thing called extreme ownership. He has a book called Extreme Ownership.
Mm-hmm.
But taking accountability, taking extreme ownership and extreme responsibility, everything is my fault. Andrew Tate uses an analogy or a metaphor or whatever. He talks about, if you planned a picnic on a certain day and you checked the weather stats and it was all good, and you go out there and it's raining, it's still your fault. So like even when it's not your fault, it's still your fault. Another analogy that I think Eric Thomas used was, if you're at a red light, 3 a.m, nobody's around, you're sober, you're abiding by the traffic laws and traffic lights, and then a drunk person rear ends you, it's still your fault. So the mindset behind that is, if it's not your fault, like if you tell yourself it's not your fault, well, then you're giving that power away to somebody else. So you have to, even if it's not your fault, you have to find a way to make it your fault. Take accountability, because I was the exact opposite before. I always blamed everybody for my problems. I always blamed my family, my dad, my circumstances, my fake friends that I had, not having money, not being skilled enough. I blamed everything on the world. I blamed everything on other people, and I never took accountability. And I saw where that was heading. I was always in jail and on drugs and all that other stuff, completely degenerate. So not only did I have to just flip the script, I didn't want to be normal. I wanted to be this person that I had in my head, and really the person that I had in my head like 4 years ago is who I am today. And now I have this another version of myself that I'm trying to achieve. But in the beginning, I had to be the extreme opposite. Not only is it not other people's fault, right? It's not just, oh, that's just the way it is, I'll just do better. Or no, it's my fault. Everything's my fault. If they're getting mad at me, it's my fault. If I'm getting angry, it's my fault. If anybody can, make you angry or whatever, then that person has control over your emotions, So, and if anybody has any sort of control over any part of you, they have the power over you. And I remember feeling so powerless in jail, so powerless. The state and the jail, my life was in their hands. They could do whatever they wanted with me. There's another time when, I used to smoke cigarettes for 11 years, right? I stopped when I got out of jail, but I started vaping. I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to smoke cigarettes, but I'll start vaping. I remember going to the hospital one day, bro, because I just had a little pain in my chest. I feel, looking back at it, it wasn't that bad, but I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm paranoid. You ever like Google something and you're like, makes it seem way worse than it is?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know what this is. Let me go to the hospital. I went to the hospital, bro. Normal, like primary care or whatever, like just normal little doctor, hey, what's wrong with my chest? They did like an MRE or whatever on me. They said, you're having a heart attack. I'm like, bro, no, I'm not. They're like, oh, let's do it again. They ran like 2 more MREs or whatever, had the little patches all over me with the cords. They're like, no, you're having a heart attack. I'm like, and this is when
What?
COVID's going around. Bro, this is when COVID's going around. So look, people are going to
Yeah.
the hospital and just dying. Like,
Uh-huh.
so my friend, he's like my little cousin, you know, I don't want to be inappropriate or whatever, but really, this is just what happened, bro. So his mom, she was healthy. She was actually a nurse. She went to the doctor. She went to the hospital or whatever, and she was healthy, bro, but she just had a cold, went to the hospital during COVID when everybody else was dying, and she just died. Like, and like low key, they don't know like really why.
Yeah.
And so that was like really close to me. And then I'm already into conspiracy theories and everything, and I'm seeing everybody going, and really the hospitals are just killing people, to be honest. I don't want to get demonetized or demonetize you or whatever. That's what was happening. They
Yeah.
was they was taking people who had a flu or a cold or already had past problems, and they were just killing them. And then saying, oh, COVID did it. COVID did it. So they could raise the numbers or whatever and get everybody vaccinated. Well, I did not get that vaccine. And so I'm in the hospital. They telling me all that. And that's going on in my head. They're like, we got to bring you to the emergency room. I'm like, all right, whatever, bro. And look, they're like, all right, look, we got to put this in you. We got to like draw some blood and put an IV in you. I'm like, you're not putting anything in me. And then that's when they're like, let me go talk to the doctor. And the doctor came in. He's like, yeah, we got to stick this in you. I'm like, you're not sticking anything in me. They're like, okay, well, still got to go to the emergency room. I was like, all right, you can go to the emergency room, but y'all not putting anything in me. I'm not taking anything, and y'all not putting anything in me. Y'all not sticking anything in me. They're like, all right. So boom, get me in the ambulance, no, the ambulance, and they strapped me to like the gurney or whatever, and so they put me in there, and so I'm in the back of the the ambulance, and now there's another person in there, like, hey, how you doing? All right, well, we're gonna put this IV in you. I'm like, no, you're not. And it's like, what? There was like, you're not putting anything in me. You're not putting any needle in me. Boom, boom, boom. And so there's like, all right. She kept trying to do it. She kept trying to persuade me. I'm like, no. She's like, well, they're gonna ask you at the hospital. I'm like, cool, let them ask me, and I'm gonna tell them no. Just like, all right. So boom, they take me out the gurney. We go to the emergency room. They're wheeling me in there. They check. Then they do the MRE again. They check the stats and they're like, oh yeah, he's messed up. His heart's, oh god. And I'm like, all right, bro, whatever.
What are you
I'm not
feeling
ready.
though?
Nothing. I'm feeling normal. I just had a little bit of chest pain. I'm telling you. I'm
Okay.
telling you. Like, I'm thinking like I have like some bacteria in my lungs or something, and I could take some antibiotics. They
Yeah.
tripping. They tweaking right now.
Okay.
And so I'm in the emergency room. They're like, "Oh yeah." They do the stats again. Like, "Oh man, he's bad. All right, let's bring him into the room. Bring him into the room." They got 7 doctors around me. They're like scrambling. Okay, we got to do this. We got to do that. We got to. All right, you got the thing. All right, boom. All right, we're gonna give you this IV. I'm like, "No, you're not." I stop everybody in their tracks, like, because I said, "No, you're not doing that." And they just look at each other. They're like confused. Like, we have to do this in order to get you treatment. I'm like, you could give me treatment any way you want, but you're not sticking anything in my body. And they were like, well, we have to. It's just an IV. It's just, it's just saline or whatever IV, blah, blah, blah. Maybe draw some blood or something. I don't know. But I was like, a needle is not going inside my body. They was like, oh, okay. So anyways, half the doctors leave, and then it's just like 2 serious doctors. And these doctors mean business. Like, they look the most serious. They're like the head honchos or whatever. And they're sitting there and they're trying to tell me, you know, they're pressuring me pretty much, da 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 da. And I'm just like, at this time, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little like, part of me is like giving in, not really, but kind of me is like it's wobbling. And so
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh God, because I went through all this pressure and I kept saying no, but
Mhm.
I'm like, let me call my mom. Let me just call my mom and ask for her guidance you know. And in the back of my head, I know my mom's gonna be like, "Tell him, let him do that, boy." I know she was gonna be like that, but I called her 3 times back to back. She didn't answer. Thank God she didn't answer. I don't know what those doctors are gonna do to me, but she didn't answer. And so I was like, no, I'm not doing it. My mom didn't answer. They're like, well, we need to hurry up. And then so she gave me an ultimatum. She was like, "It's like, if you don't let us do this, you could walk out of there and you could drop dead if you don't let us do this." And once she said that, I'm like, you're not about to threaten me. You're not about to scare me. You just said the wrong thing. That was
Yeah.
not the way to convince me. You just lost the sale.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, she was pissed. She was visibly pissed, the doctor. And she was like, you're going to go out there. You're going to drop dead. I was like, I guess so. We'll see. So I go out there. So they let me out. I walk my happy ass out the hospital. And from that day on, I realized how powerless I felt in there. Same thing within jail. I felt so powerless. Like, I had no control over what was going to happen. I did have a little bit of control, but like,
Right.
if I would have they could have did whatever. They could have put whatever in my body.
Mm.
And I was like, and it's all because my dumbass kept vaping. And I was like, from here on out, I'm not going to vape anymore. And I'm going to take my health serious. That's when I did my body transformation and I started getting in shape. But the point is, I say all that to say everything is my fault. Those doctors were about to kill me and it was my fault. Like, the judge was about to send me to prison and it was my fault. My ex left me for my best friend. It was my fault, right? I didn't take, it took me 6 months to close my first wholesale deal. It's my fault. But all the other positive things that are in my life, because I made it my fault, now I have control to make it however I want. I created my own reality. I have my own life. My life is kick ass. I'm so grateful for it. The people around me, the friends I have, the things that I have, the setup, this house, like the car, like, bro, it's awesome. And so I'm going to continue to create my reality and it's just going to get better from here. But that is the number one thing. And then one more thing, I'm going to say it quick.
Yeah.
Little mental model is everything is happening for you, not to you. Like, I had such a victim mentality in the past.
Mm.
And it was always woe is me, and I was all like, this sucks, and I was always so negative. But everything is happening for you, not to you, and everything is your fault. So take back the control. So yeah.
Amazing, amazing. I love it. Great. So, where is the one best place to connect with you and learn more?
I'd say subscribe to my YouTube channel and see the videos that I drop there, because it's not just about wholesale real estate. It's about self-improvement and just life in general. So I'm vlogging all the time. I'm doing interviews. I'm just talking there about my life, my experiences. And then if you really want to get in touch with me, you could follow me on Instagram. It's Isaiah Malonson 504, or it's Isaiah Malonson 504. Like I'll leave a link, or I'll give you a link, or maybe you leave a little tag,
Yeah,
or you
yeah,
could join the Discord.
for sure.
And if you want to have the links to everything, so I give away my contract for free, the contract that I use to lock up all my deals, the Zillow script that I use to call all the leads, the link to the Discord, the link to become a student, work with me one-on-one. All of that is in every description on every YouTube video on my YouTube channel. So just go to my YouTube, Isaiah Malonson.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Isaiah. We appreciate you. We look forward to having you in the future, and thanks for sharing your story with us.
I appreciate you, my man, for sure. See you later.
All right.